Chapter 52:16. Laurent's eyes flashed with a strange look, and the other shopkeepers were also very surprised. They did not expect that the first thing this lord did was not to take away all the light of law, but to take out the light of law to repair the road. Clearly, it was not a simple road repair, but a good repair. This was a long-term plan, Zichen said. I don't have extravagant hopes for the same standards as here, but I definitely can't fool you. Laurent immediately nodded. Zichen said again, how much is your current remuneration? Everyone then talked about their respective remuneration, which was more or less, about 10 strands of power a month. The waiter who was registering at the side was very envious when he heard this. Zichen said, from now on, if you are willing to stay, your remuneration will be tripled. The group of shopkeepers did not dare to believe it. Was this lord so generous? Could it be that there were some conditions? Sure enough, Zichen said again, however, from today onwards, all the inns on that street are not allowed to have any robberies. Zichen stared into the eyes of these shopkeepers. As long as there is a robbery, the inn's shopkeeper will be expelled. If there is a theft, the shopkeeper will be responsible for the investigation. If there is no investigation, then the shopkeeper will pay for it. Haydn's eyes flashed with a hint of shock. He saw a big change. If this matter could be done, then the reputation of that street would naturally change. There were originally a lot of people there, and if there were no safety issues, he believed that there would be even more people gathering there. But the premise was that this matter could be done, because it involved too great of a benefit. Therefore, the following work will definitely not be easy. If you are willing to resign, you can leave now, and I will give you 3 more months of remuneration. Zichen's voice gradually turned cold, but if you choose to continue, then you have to be responsible for your own actions. To put it bluntly, in the future, you will no longer be able to scam money from Rat Road Street. If anyone violates the rules, once I find out, regardless of whether the shopkeeper instigated it or not, the shopkeeper will die. Zichen waved his hand and said, go, consider it carefully, and give me an answer tomorrow. As for Laurent, you will start looking for people to repair the road today. Yes, my lord. Laurent took his account book and turned to leave. This lord was clearly different from the previous Jiolei. After the shopkeepers left, Haydn walked over and asked, why? Zichen said, since we're doing business, we naturally have to consider the long term. Haydn said, their previous model was actually quite profitable. In fact, from a certain point of view, other than the huge consumption of resources, your gains are actually not that great. Zichen smiled faintly. But if we do this, won't more people be able to live? Haydn was stunned. He looked at Zichen in confusion. Zichen said, others don't affect your ability to make money. Since there's a way to let more people live, why let them die? Haydn nodded with a smile. He completely understood what Zichen meant. With Zichen in charge of that street, it might be a good choice. Zichen glanced at the waiter and said, follow me from now on. The waiter was stunned and felt slight disbelief. Was his lordship inviting him? He was stunned. What, you're not willing? Zichen asked with a smile. The waiter hurriedly shook his head, but then he looked at Haydn. Haydn said, this is your opportunity. Many thanks, my lord. The waiter immediately bowed to Haydn, then to Zichen. Zach greets my lord. Go find Laurent now and follow him. Watch how he does things. Pay him 3 strands of astral magic power per month. Wait until you become a shopkeeper. Many thanks, my lord. The waiter was very excited. Not far away, the shopkeeper of this inn had a look of envy in his eyes. His luck was really good. That was because the innkeepers of those inns were paid 3 times the amount, which was even higher than his. To tell the truth, he was tempted. He immediately changed his clothes and left the inn to find Laurent. What do you plan to do with that empty place? Haydn asked. I haven't thought about it yet. Haydn hesitated for a moment, then said, your reform this time has great prospects, but it has to go smoothly. Zichen understood Haydn's meaning. There were too many people in Rat Road Street, so there was a lot of partial wealth. Zichen's move was to cut off all the partial wealth. But where would so many people dare to take partial wealth? Even a shopkeeper could mobilize 500 strands of light. It could be seen that he had a lot to rely on. This kind of reliance was not only limited to the dead Caleb. Haydn left and went to find Wei Luo to inform him of Zichen's plan. Wei Luo said, "So, not only did he cut off a part of our wealth, he also secretly appropriated some of the light of law. He even reduced my share by 20%. At this moment, the 13 families had already handed over 30% of their light of law. Wei Luo's expression was naturally not good. Haydn said, "My lord, I can see a revolution. In the future, there should be fewer deaths in Rat Road Street." Wei Luo snorted, "So, this is the reason for deducting 20% of my resources? What does the life and death of others have to do with me? Also, without partial wealth, how will those who make a living survive?" A cold light flashed in Wei Luo's eyes. "Originally, I wanted to see if he had the ability. Now, he even dares to have ideas about me. It seems that his ability is not small. Could it be that my lord wants to take back that street?" Haydn looked at Wei Luo. Wei Luo snorted coldly, "I'm not going to go back on my words. However, he dares to deduct my things. His courage is not small. Go back and tell him that I've changed my mind. I want 60% of the profit." Haydn nodded. It was as he had guessed. Zichen's move was good, but it was only targeted at the ordinary people. It was not good for those who benefited. Partial wealth was still wealth. Haydn passed the message to Zichen. Zichen did not say anything. The next day, he had people send out another 30% of the profits. Rat Road Street began to rest and reorganize. At the same time, a series of orders were issued, which naturally caused a lot of dissatisfaction. Moreover, the people below might not listen to them. As a result, chaos appeared one after another. Zichen did not have anyone by his side that he could use, so he could only act personally. In order to get things done once and for all, he directly killed people. He killed them one by one until he reached the shopkeeper. Looking at the frightened shopkeeper, Zichen said, "You shouldn't have stepped forward." With that, the shopkeeper's head left his body. Rat Road Street. Of the 14 shopkeepers, the second one had died. Little fool Zack was immediately appointed as the new shopkeeper. Xiao Zhu, who was cultivating in her room, was also called out by Zichen. She would be supervising Rat Road Street from now on. Chapter 52:17. The hired thugs of the 13 inns were all dismissed. Rat Road Street announced to the outside world that it could guarantee the safety of everyone's belongings. There would be no more loss of items or danger of being robbed. This piece of news caused quite a stir. Everyone knew what Rat Road Street was like in the past. Anyone who had some savings would be shot to death in one night as long as they stayed there. Even though the announcement was made, not many people believed it. However, the changes in Rat Road Street were noticed by everyone. The streets were still narrow, but the roads were cleaned up and became incomparably clean. It was poles apart from the original dirty and messy streets. Zichen's deterrence also deterred the other shopkeepers who had crooked thoughts. Killing the shopkeeper wasn't the end. He also captured the dead shopkeeper's family. It was a woman with a fierce expression. "You're the one who killed my husband. When Lord Cody returns, you'll be dead. Cody will definitely kill you. Now, you better let me go." The woman's eyes were fierce. Facing Zichen, she didn't have the slightest fear. Zichen nodded and said with gratification, "Thank you." The woman was dumbfounded. She was threatening him, and he was thanking her. Could it be that he had become a fool? In the next moment, the woman lost her head. Zichen, who couldn't bear it before, didn't have any psychological burden when he saw such a rude and unreasonable woman. That's right. How could someone who dared to commit a crime be an ordinary person? As for who that Cody was, Zichen didn't care. He only knew that this place was called Okon's Pure Land. The only person he was afraid of was the Pure Land's master, Okon. Killing the chicken to warn the monkey undoubtedly frightened the other shopkeepers. Because Zichen really did it. When one person made a mistake, his family would be implicated. Soon, 3 people proposed to leave. Zichen didn't urge them to stay. He gave them 3 more months of salary as promised. They parted on good terms. Next, he promoted 3 more shopkeepers. Everything was slowly going on the right track. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. However, everyone knew that they were just waiting for some big shots to return. Chen was still staying in Hayden's Inn. He didn't participate much in the development of Rat Road Street. In one night, Okang came back. He was badly injured. After entering the Pure Land, he returned to the depths and began his seclusion. He had no time to care about the matters in the Pure Land. Cody, who had returned with Okon, was the first to learn of Gal's death. "How dare you?" His expression was a little gloomy. "What right does he have to casually give our property to an outsider?" The next day, an uninvited guest came to Hayden's Inn. "Who's Chen? Get out here." A cold voice rang out. Hearing this voice, Chen opened his eyes. He knew that trouble was coming, so he headed downstairs. "Are you Chen?" Cody glanced sideways at Chen. "You're the one who killed Galay? Rob him of Rat Road Street?" Chen said, "Galay was indeed killed by me. However, Gal asked me to take care of Rat Road Street." He guessed that this should be Cody, but he clearly didn't have any intention of standing up for the shopkeeper. If the dead shopkeeper's wife knew about this, who knew how she would feel? "You don't have the right to manage Rat Road Street," Cody said coldly. "If you dare to interfere with Rat Road Street's matters again, I'll wring your head off." Chen said calmly, "Gal asked me to take care of Rat Road Street. If you have a different opinion, you can talk to Gal. If he passes on the message, I'll naturally leave." Cody's eyes narrowed. "What? My words don't have any effect on you? I don't know you, so your words naturally don't have any effect. In the matter of Rat Road Street, I only recognize Gal. Do you want to die?" Killing intent flashed across Cody's eyes. Chen's expression didn't change at all. Facing the threat, he didn't even blink. "Before you convince Gal to take back his order, Rat Road Street will be under my management. Therefore, they have to follow the rules I set." "Good, very good," Cody said coldly. "Your rules, right? I want to see what kind of rules you have." With that, Cody turned and left. Chen followed him out. Of course, he wasn't going to send him off, but to Rat Road Street. Halfway there, he saw Hayden, who had rushed over. Hayden came to Chen's side and said in a low voice, "Cody is at the 6th level of spirit technique. He has always been by Lord Okon's side and has gained his trust. However, he doesn't participate in the management of the Pure Land. Everything is decided by Lord Gal." Chen nodded and didn't say anything. This time, the reason why he's targeting you should be related to Gal's death. All this time, he's been protecting Gal. Chen nodded again and still didn't say anything. However, after walking a few steps, Chen suddenly asked, "That Cody is obviously going to cause trouble. Go ask Lord Gal if he's going to leave him half alive or just let him die." Hayden's expression changed greatly. Was he that confident? "I'll go back and ask." This matter was of great importance. He didn't dare to be negligent and directly brought the message to Lord Gal. Lord Gal sat there and looked at Hayden. "Do you think he's really confident or just bluffing?" Hayden said, "I'm not too sure, but for this matter, we'd rather believe it's true than not. If Chen really has the strength, then Lord Cody." Actually, Hayden believed that Chen wouldn't joke around. However, he couldn't say it now because it would boost his morale. "Go tell Cody not to be impulsive. Just say that since I gave Rat Road Street to Chen, it will be Chen's in the future. So, don't go looking for trouble with Chen again, lest you lose your life. Just pass the message. As for whether he listens or not, don't worry about it." Hayden said in an even more tactful tone. Cody sneered. "Why? Do you think I'm afraid of him? He's just an outsider. What can he do to me?" Chen personally oversaw Rat Road Street and prepared to deal with the upcoming trouble. That night, there was a sudden shout. "I lost my light of law. Who stole my light of law? Didn't you say that there won't be any more theft? Why did I lose my light of law?" The voice was so loud that it woke up everyone who was sleeping soundly. Chen also heard the commotion and walked over to the inn. He saw the person who was shouting and yelling. The innkeeper was dealing with the matter, but that person obviously didn't listen. He pointed at the innkeeper's nose and cursed, "Mother ***, didn't you say that you won't lose anything? Now, I've lost 100 light of law. What do you say? I worked so hard to earn that money. You better find the thief now, or you'll have to compensate me." The other party held his head high and his attitude was very arrogant. The innkeeper was a bit troubled. He was clearly here to cause trouble, so where could he find the thief? If it was any other day, those hired thugs would obediently shut up even if they lost their light of law. "Are you sure you have 100 light of law?" Just as the innkeeper was at a loss, an indifferent voice rang out. Chapter 52:18. As this voice sounded, everyone looked towards the door. Chen walked in. The innkeeper hurriedly saluted. The others guessed Chen's identity and also saluted with shock in their eyes. Chen walked closer and looked at the person who shouted, "Are you sure you have 100 light of law?" The person didn't dare to look at Chen, but he wasn't afraid either. He directly shouted, "Of course, 100. Chen continued, "100 light of law isn't a small number. Where did you get it?" The person said, "Why do you care where I got it? You just need to compensate me." Chen smiled, "Of course I have to ask clearly. Otherwise, if a random person comes and says he lost the light of law, what should I do? You're considered a coward. If it's someone more daring, saying he lost 1,000 light of law, and then another person came and lost 3,000 light of law, would our inn still be open?" Chen's eyes gradually turned cold. "I believe you should know very well what the inn was like in the past. The reason why it's changed now is to allow more people to live better. However, it seems that not everyone thinks that being able to live is a good thing." After hearing Chen's words, the eyes of the people who were originally watching the show changed. Indeed, when someone used to live here, even if someone lost the light of law, they didn't dare to say anything. Moreover, this guy in front of them didn't look like someone who had 100 light of law. He was obviously here to cause trouble. "What? Are you saying that you don't want to admit it?" The person said with disdain, "If that's the case, then don't act like you want to change. I advise you to quickly close the door." Chen said, "Whether you lost the light of law or not, you know very well in your heart. It's naturally impossible for me to find out where you lost it." Hearing this, the person laughed. "So, you want to cheat? No, as long as you can prove that you have more than 100 Dao lights, I'll compensate you." Chen took out a pouch and opened it. "Since I said so, I will naturally abide by it. If you can prove that you have 100 Dao law lights, then these 200 Dao law lights will all be yours." Looking at the radiant light of law, the other party's eyes flashed with greed. "Now, you just need to tell me when and what did you do to obtain 100 light of law." Chen said, "Say it, and it's yours." When the other party heard this, he asked, "Really?" Chen said, Chen, never lie." The other party said, "This morning, Zhao-san gave me 100 light of Dao." "Why did he give you 100 Dao law lights?" "Do you have to ask?" "Naturally, I have to ask in detail." I'll help him. Many thoughts flashed through the other party's mind because he was quickly thinking about what to do to obtain 100 light of law lights. Right, I helped him kill a person. A person he hated very much. He gave me 100 light of law lights as a reward. After saying this, the other party said proudly, "Now, it's time to give it to me, right?" Chen said, "I still have something to say just now. If what you said is true, I can give you the light of law lights. But if it's false, then you have to die." The other party's expression suddenly changed. A cold light flashed in Chen's eyes, and immediately a pressure fell on the other party. "Tell me, where is Zhao-san and the person you killed? If I can't find them, you have to die. Even Cody can't protect you." When the other party heard this, he directly collapsed to the ground. Spare me." He made up what he said just now. Before coming, no one told him that the other party would ask in such detail and even find someone to verify it. Therefore, when he sensed Chen's aura, he was completely afraid. "Sir, spare me." He was incomparably terrified. The others at the side looked at the other party coldly. It was not easy for the inn on Rat Road Street to have some changes. This was naturally a good thing for those ordinary people. They did not expect that someone would want to destroy it. Tell me, who did it? A trace of killing intent flashed in Zichen's eyes. Tell me the person behind this, and I'll spare your life. It's Luo Sai, he asked me to come. The other party was afraid and said this name. This is impossible. Hearing this name, the shopkeeper's expression could not help but change. Zichen turned to look at the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper said, Luo Sai is the shopkeeper of the east end of Rat Road Street. Let's go. Zichen pulled up the kneeling person. If you're telling the truth, I guarantee that you won't die. These 200 light of law lights are also yours. Sir, I guarantee that I'm telling the truth. If I'm lying, I'm willing to be struck by lightning. Zichen's expression was calm, but he was furious in his heart. He was not afraid of others coming to find trouble, but if there was a problem with an insider, then he had to be punished. The group of people came to the east end, and that existence immediately pointed at Luo Sai and said, Sir, it's him. Seeing the group, Luo Sai's face immediately turned pale. What nonsense are you talking about? What do I have to do with you? Sir, I'm telling the truth. He gave me 10 light of law and asked me to put on a show. He said that he would reward me afterwards. The other party immediately took out a small cloth bag and said, Sir, the 10 light of law are here. Zichen looked at Luo Sai. Luo Sai's face became incomparably pale. Sir, don't believe him. He's lying. Zichen said, Your actions will not only kill you, but also implicate your family. I gave you a chance, why didn't you cherish it? Seeing the killing intent in Zichen's eyes, Luo Sai panicked and immediately shouted, Sir, save me. Sir Cody, save me. Pu. A light flew past, and Luo Sai's head left his body. Blood spurted out, dyeing the surroundings red. The surroundings were in an uproar. They did not expect Zichen to attack just like that. Zichen said, Laurent. Sir. Laurent appeared behind Zichen. The previous commotion was so big that all the shopkeepers of Rat Road Street came. Zichen said coldly, Find his family and kill them directly, then bring back all the light of law. Yes, sir. Laurent immediately responded with cupped fists. He could feel Zichen's anger. Also, if anyone obstructs, go find Sijie and let him deal with it. If he's not willing to help, tell him that I'll beat him to death. Yes. Zichen added, also, tell the other shopkeepers to give them another chance to choose. If they want to leave, give them 3 more months of remuneration. Yes. Laurent nodded. In fact, all the shopkeepers were here. Oh my, you look like you're quite a snob. Those who don't know would think that you're something amazing. Right at this time, a mocking voice sounded. However, who the hell do you think you are? You dare to kill people here? Zichen turned his head and looked at the person. It was Cody. Zichen asked, You arranged for this person? Cody sneered and said, What if I say no? Zichen said coldly, then scram. Don't let me see you again, coward. A hint of killing intent flashed across Cody's eyes. Then what if it was me? Zichen disappeared. A rumble sounded. Chapter 52:19. With a loud rumble, Cody flew out of the inn and fell to the ground. The newly repaired road had a new human-shaped pit. Fresh blood spurted out from his mouth. Cody lay on the ground, staring at Zichen. Zichen lifted his foot and stepped on Cody's chest. Since you've already admitted it, then don't blame me. Zichen began to exert force. The force entered Cody's body through his chest. His bones emitted cracking sounds. Cody smiled malevolently. I've underestimated you. If you have the ability, then kill me. To be able to defeat him in one move, it was enough to see how tyrannical Zichen's strength was. Zichen said, Do you know how Gale died? Is there a need for me to care about a dead person? If you have the ability, then kill me, Cody said coldly. After killing me, I want to see if you can have a foothold here. Zichen smiled faintly. It seems that your life is only worth this Rat Road Street. Cody's expression suddenly changed. Since you think so lowly of yourself, Then why should I think highly of you? Chen smiled coldly. Whether I want this rat road street or not, it doesn't matter. Just like your life, whether I kill it or not depends on a single thought. However, since you don't take your life seriously, why should I take your life as mine? Killing intent flashed in Chen's eyes. He lifted his foot and heavily stomped down. So, since you're courting death, then I'll be a good person and grant you your wish. This time, he directly stepped on Cody's head. As if stepping on a watermelon, it was accompanied by a loud explosion. White and red splashed in all directions. Cody's body was twitching. There was no life left, only a conditioned reflex. Chen bent down and searched the other party's body. He found an exquisite beast skin pouch. After opening it, he found nearly 100 rays of light. These rays of light were even brighter, and the power they contained was also even purer. These were law spirits. One ray of light was equivalent to 100 rays of light. The light in front of him was comparable to the light of 10,000 Daos. Chen couldn't help but sigh. This was the fastest way to obtain resources. Tidy up. After saying this, Chen returned to Hayden's inn. Now that Cody was dead, he believed that no one else would dare to come looking for trouble. Unless the master of the Pure Land, Ocon, didn't want him to stay here. The next day, the news of Cody's murder had spread as soon as the sun had risen. When Wei Luo heard the news, his expression also changed. Did you see the situation of the battle? Was it very intense? Hayden said, I heard that Cody suddenly fell to the ground and then kept provoking Chen. In the end, Chen only used one foot to crush Cody's head. Where did this Chen come from? Even Cody, who was at the 6th level, was stomped to death. Could he be at the 8th or 9th level? When the other party came here, he first killed the 5th level Gal, then the 6th level Cody, not giving them any face at all. Although there was an element of provocation between the two, this was Ocon's Pure Land after all. As an outsider, shouldn't he accommodate the locals? Pass the word, if you don't want to die, don't go looking for trouble. Wei Luo said in a deep voice, I have to find the master and explain this matter clearly. After that, Wei Luo left and went directly to the depths. When he came to the core of the Pure Land, the spiritual power of heaven and earth here was more and more intense. As soon as he walked here, he heard a woman's wail and couldn't help but frown. It should be Cody's sister who had learned of Cody's death and was making a scene at the moment. Wei Luo coughed lightly and then walked in. A woman was looking at him with resentment. Wei Luo saluted Ocon and shouted, Master. It's you killed Cody. The woman said coldly, I want you to pay with your life. Wei Luo gave a fist salute and said, Madam, I repeatedly reminded Cody not to provoke that Chen, but he didn't listen. The woman said, It's you. If you had driven him away directly, would there be such trouble? Wei Luo did not respond this time. Obviously, this sentence was very idiotic. If he had driven Chen away, he would probably be the one to die. That Chen, what's his background? Ocon asked. Wei Luo shook his head and said, I'm not sure, but I suspect he's from the upper realm. His current combat strength is unknown. The upper realm? Ocon frowned slightly. Tell me about Chen, in detail. Before coming, Wei Luo had already inquired about it, including about Lil Zhu, and even went outside to look for old Yao. He told him in full detail. After listening, Ocon said, So, he killed Gal because he brought that girl to Rat Road Street to experience it. Wei Luo said, That's indeed the case. Ocon continued, Then, you gave Rat Road Street to him, and his first order was to forbid stealing and robbing? Wei Luo nodded again. I've always wondered why he brought a total stranger with him. Thinking about it carefully, he probably didn't want to see her die. Because once Chen enters the Pure Land, you can imagine how many girls will be left by old Yarrow's side. Ocon said, How can there be such a person in the world? Did we meet a saint? First for an ordinary person, then for an ordinary person on a street. Why don't the saint save me too? Wei Luo did not respond. He could not tell whether this was a joke or a joke. Sir, he must have an ulterior motive for doing this. We must kill him. The woman beside him said immediately. Okon smiled and said, "Tell me, if I give you to him, will he help me once?" "Huh?" The woman was stunned. "Sir, what did you say?" Okon's face became gloomy. "Here, women are the most worthless. You're not much better than other women, but you can live here and serve me alone. You're not like other women, serving everyone in order to survive. What do you think you're relying on? Beauty? Wrong, it's my pity. Haha, in that case, I'm also a saint." The woman's face became incomparably pale. "Sir, you know that the other party is powerful, but you still want me to kill him. You don't want revenge, you want to kill me." Okon waved his hand and said, "Wei Luo, she's yours." Wei Luo was slightly stunned. "Why, you don't want it?" Wei Luo reacted. "Thank you, sir, for your reward. That's Zi Chen, I'll personally go and see what kind of saint he is." Okon walked out of here and did not look at the woman again. Wei Luo smiled and said, "Let's go." The woman looked at Wei Luo with resentment. Wei Luo stepped forward and slapped her. "*TCH, I've wanted to slap you for a long time. Serve me well from now on, or I'll send you to Rat Road Street." Looking at the viciousness in Wei Luo's eyes, the woman was afraid. There was a hint of fear in her eyes. Wei Luo pulled her hair and dragged her back. When they returned to the residence, Wei Luo threw her directly on the bed and then pounced on her. In the room, the woman's screams kept coming out. Okon came to Hayden's inn. He sat on the first floor and ordered a pot of wine. In the room, Zi Chen opened his eyes. He felt the existence of Sher. So, he walked down from upstairs. Chapter 52:20. Zi Chen stood at the top of the stairs. Okon sat in his seat. The two looked at each other. 4 eyes met. An inexplicable pressure, with the two as the center, surged out. In the inn, everyone felt an inexplicable pressure, and many people found it difficult to breathe. The shopkeeper's face was pale, squatting in the corner, too scared to say a word. The waiters were nowhere to be seen. On the first floor of the inn, there seemed to be only 2 people left in an instant. The atmosphere was strange, and swords were drawn. There was no need to guess. The one sitting there was the strongest person in this pure land. Okon. Okon stretched out his hand, saying, "Sit." As soon as this sentence came out, the pressure in the inn disappeared in an instant. The shopkeeper in the corner was sweating profusely, as if he had just experienced a life and death crisis. Zi Chen slowly went down the stairs. His expression seemed calm, but his mood was fluctuating greatly. Just a moment ago, he felt threatened. This was the first time someone had threatened him since he came here. Zi Chen sat opposite Okon, took the initiative to pour himself a cup of wine, and then looked at Okon, waiting for him to continue. Okon said, "I heard that you have good wine on you." Zi Chen drank the wine in the cup in one gulp. A light flashed in his hand, and a pot of wine appeared. After opening it, the fragrance of the wine overflowed. Okon laughed. "It is indeed good wine," looking at the other's intoxicated expression, as if he really came to ask for wine. Zi Chen took the initiative to say, "Sir, you came because of Cody's death." Okon put down the wine cup. "Yes and no." Zi Chen looked at Okon, waiting for him to continue. "Cody provoked you, and you killed him. He deserved it. I believe that if it was anyone else, they would not let him go." Okon said, "This kind of brainless idiot is not worthy of my special attention. In fact, I'm very glad that such an idiot died early. In the future, if he were to poke a hole in the sky because of his own stupidity, then he wouldn't be the one to die." Zi Chen nodded and agreed with Okon. "I came here mainly to meet you, or rather, to meet the saint." Saint? Zi Chen was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't quite understand the meaning behind these words. "The people here believe in every man for himself, and the devil takes the hindmost." Okon said, "Ever since we gained consciousness, we have been like this. As long as there is profit, we don't need to consider others. As for sacrificing oneself for others, we have only heard of such things in legends. We call such people saints." Zi Chen said, "I'm not a saint." "No, from what I've heard, you are the legendary saint." Okon looked at Zi Chen. "Otherwise, why would you do such a thankless thing? She was just a wild girl. She could fend for herself. But Zichen didn't, and brought her to the Pure Land. Afraid that she would go astray, he personally brought her to experience the dangers of the world. If Rat Road Street developed according to its original plan, everyone would be able to earn light of law, and there would only be more and not less. But Zichen didn't, he chose another path. Looking at Okon's serious expression, Zichen's expression also became serious. In any case, we are all earning light of law. I just feel that we can earn more this way. As for sacrificing oneself for others, I have never thought of that. That's absolutely impossible. Okon said, if we are talking about business, the method we choose can maximize the benefits. Zichen smiled and said, take Little Bamboo for example. If I didn't bring her here, she would have died long ago and would have no value. But after coming here, she became a spirit cultivator and has great potential in the future. The light of law I invested in, compared to her future gains, is not even a hair from 9 oxen. Okon naturally didn't think so. There were too many uncertain factors in this. He asked, if you were the master of the Pure Land and faced danger, what would you do? Zichen didn't even think and said, naturally, I would protect the Pure Land well. If I encountered a crisis that I couldn't resolve, I could only try to see if I could protect the Pure Land to the greatest extent. For example, Okon looked at Zichen. Zichen said, for example, I would leave the Pure Land behind so that the people inside can live. Zichen had done such things many times. Okon said, why not just destroy the Pure Land? It's better to die in glory than to live in dishonor. Zichen smiled and said, since it's my Pure Land, it's naturally my home. The people I care about live there, as well as the people who trust me. Directly destroying it would be great. Moreover, preserving the Pure Land also preserves the possibility of the future. One day, when I become strong, I can take back the Pure Land. Okon said, are these your true thoughts? Zichen nodded. Okon stood up and said, after seeing you, I seem to have regained my confidence in this world. Perhaps, I should also go out for a walk and see the wider world. After that, Okang left, but he didn't finish the wine. Zichen didn't know the other party's intentions, but he understood one thing. After Okon left, no one dared to come to Rat Road Street to cause trouble. Cody was killed, and the master of the Pure Land went to find Zichen. However, Zichen was still unscathed. This was enough to see many problems. Therefore, no matter how many people were thinking about Rat Road Street before, they had no choice but to give up now. With Cody's example as an example, no one dared to steal from Rat Street again. Therefore, the reputation of Rat Road Street was spread back in a very short time. There were many poor people in the Pure Land. They all lived in places like Rat Road Street. It was different from the past. After having a few rays of light of law on their bodies, they lived in fear and trepidation. This time, with Zichen's promise, they openly stayed in the inns of Rat Road Street. Once the light of law was lost, they would go find the shopkeeper. With reputation, there would naturally be business. In the following days, the 13 inns of Rat Road Street were filled to the brim every day. Other than cultivating, Little Bamboo would also patrol this street. Currently, she was still at the first level of Spirit Dharma. Outside the Pure Land, a group of 5 people came. The leader of the black-robed man stared ahead. Are you sure there are no problems here? The latest news we heard is that the master of this Pure Land, Okon, was severely injured when fighting for the entrance last time. The person behind said, furthermore, in this Pure Land, other than Okon, there are only 2 8th-level Spirit Dharma and 2 6th-level Spirit Dharma. Hearing that, the black-robed man said, then there are no problems. He waved his hand and said, let's go. The group of 5 headed towards Okon's Pure Land. Walking to the entrance of the Pure Land, the guards saw the 5 people with unfriendly expressions and tactfully didn't go up to ask for the entrance fee. After the 5 people entered the Pure Land, they headed straight for the depths. Boom! A terrifying aura exploded in the depths. In this area, there was a special group of people. They hunted the master of the Pure Land and plundered the Pure Land for a living. Chapter 52:21. Powerful energy erupted from the depths of the Pure Land. The terrifying aura surged, and the Pure Land shook. Such a sudden change alarmed everyone. Everyone was at a loss, not knowing what had happened. Everyone, come to the depths of the Pure Land. Raiders have appeared. Okon's voice suddenly spread throughout the Pure Land. Everyone's expression changed greatly. Raiders. This was a group of terrifying existences that made a living by plundering the entire Pure Land. Wherever they passed, the lucky ones would leave behind a broken Pure Land. Most of the Pure Land would explode, and there would be countless casualties. Run, the raiders are here. Run quickly. It's over. It's completely over. The Pure Land was instantly in chaos, and the people living there began to flee. Once the Pure Land was destroyed, more than half of the ordinary people in the Pure Land would die. No one was willing to stay. When the chaos appeared, Zichen also walked out of the inn. Looking at the panicked crowd, he frowned, and suddenly remembered what Okon said before. Did he mean something? Sir. A cry of alarm sounded, and Xiaozhu ran in this direction. Behind her, Laurent and the other shopkeepers, as well as some subordinates, followed. Sir, the Pure Land is about to be destroyed. Xiaozhu came in front of Zichen and said, the people here are about to die, let's run quickly. Zichen looked at Laurent and the others with a calm expression. Sir, these raiders specialize in hunting the Pure Land. Once they set their eyes on us, the Pure Land will most likely be destroyed. Laurent said, while the battle hasn't spread here yet, let's hurry and leave. Zichen asked, where to? Laurent said, no matter where to go, it's better than staying here and waiting for death. Zichen looked at them. In fact, he couldn't blame these people. They were all very weak, and besides running, there was no other way. But Zichen had a way. He looked at everyone, and finally looked at Xiaozhu, and said, come, follow me inside to take a look. Xiaozhu was stunned. Zichen didn't give her time to hesitate or refuse, and walked straight into the depths. Xiaozhu followed. Laurent and the others stood there, motionless. This scene was very unexpected. They had thought that the Lord would take them away and choose the second Pure Land. Shopkeeper, should we run? Someone asked in a low voice. Laurent's expression changed, and then he cursed, run my ass. Let's go back and guard our property. It was obvious that my lord had gone to the depths to provide support. The other shopkeepers were stunned and found it hard to believe. Go back. Zach, who used to be a waiter, said, protect our family business well. If it wasn't for Zichen, he wouldn't be where he was today. He believed in Zichen. That's why I'm not leaving. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The depths were a complete mess. The battle was extremely intense. One entity after another fell. One expert after another was killed. Of the 5 plunderers who came, each had a strong battle strength. Among them, there were 4 who were at the 9th level of spirit cultivation. The other was an even more powerful arcane annihilation. This kind of battle prowess was indeed beyond the strength of this Pure Land. Wei Luo, Hai Dun, and the others were all heavily injured. There were also many who died in battle. Okon stood there with a bloody hole in his chest. He looked at the black-robed man in front of him and said, how about we have a discussion? The black-robed man smiled coldly. Discuss what? Okon said, I'm leaving. I'll leave the Pure Land to you. Treat the people here well and this Pure Land. The black-robed man sneered, do you have the qualifications to talk to me like this? Okon said again, you know very well that I didn't use the power of the Pure Land. Otherwise, my battle strength would be even stronger. You might not be able to suppress me. The black-robed man had a look of disdain. You only have the qualifications to say this when you're at your peak. You're injured. Even if you use the power of the Pure Land, you definitely won't be able to defeat me. Otherwise, why would I come here? Ao Kang sighed and said, you see, I've already said that in this world, this kind of method simply won't work. This world doesn't pay attention to this. The black-robed man frowned slightly. Okon's words were very clearly not directed at him. Okon still did not give up and said, I'll give you all the wealth, how about leaving this Pure Land behind? Dream on. The black-robed man said coldly, you all must die. A hint of madness suddenly appeared in Okon's eyes. Just looking around, looking at the people who were seriously injured and lying on the ground, as well as those who died in battle, a hint of reluctance appeared in his eyes for the first time. However, the outcome was already decided. Right at this time, a person walked over from afar. To be precise, there were two people. However, the person behind was automatically ignored. Sage. Seeing that person appear, the injured Wei Luo, Haydn, and the rest all had a hint of surprise on their faces. While Ocon cried out loudly, his expression very excited. With the arrival of a sage, things might take a turn for the better. When Wei Luo and the rest heard this, their eyes also lit up. In the past, they were all worried that Zichen's battle strength was too strong, posing a threat to this pure land. Now, they only hoped that Zichen's battle strength would become stronger and stronger. Sage. The black-robed man smiled faintly. This name is quite interesting. Then, he waved his hand and said, let this sage see your strength. The man named Four smiled coldly and walked towards Zichen. Buzz. A tyrannical aura completely erupted, and there was an additional pressure in the air. Feeling this pressure, Zichen's expression changed for the first time. 9th level spirit spell? Hearing this sentence, Wei Luo and the rest were in despair. It seemed that this was not a true expert. The 9th level spirit spell laughed. What, are you scared silly? I thought you had some means to dare to come to this place. It turns out that you're just a hothead. The aura of the 9th level spirit spell was enough to suffocate everyone present. Right at this time, Zichen disappeared. The 5 black-robed men's faces changed for the first time. Courting death. The 9th level spirit spell shouted, crossed his hands, and blocked. A tyrannical aura erupted. Boom. A huge tremor suddenly sounded, and the 9th level spirit spell flew out. He landed heavily on the ground. Zichen stood where the 9th level spirit spell was, his expression indifferent. The others were stunned. He could even fight against a 9th level spirit spell? 4. The black-robed man shouted. The 9th level spirit spell turned over and looked at Zichen, his eyes full of killing intent. I want you to die. Zichen's figure flashed and disappeared again. Another roar sounded. The 9th level spirit spell was hit in the chest, and his body bent like a shrimp as he flew towards the sky. Fresh blood splattered in the air. Zichen's voice also sounded at this time. We're all 9th level spirit spell. Why are you so weak? As his words fell, Zichen lifted his foot in the air and stomped down. Boom. The 9th level spirit spell's body directly smashed onto the ground. There was a human-shaped pit on the ground. Chapter 52-22. Boom. A terrifying shockwave swept out and the 9th level spirit spell cultivator sank deep into the ground. Blood gushed out. His internal organs had all been shattered. His life force was extinguished. Everyone was stunned. He died just like that. A 9th level spirit spell cultivator was trampled to death just like that. How arrogant and insufferably arrogant was the other party just now? He died just like that. Following that, Haydn and the others had a touch of excitement on their faces. The situation might be reversed. Ocon was also very surprised, but then he laughed. If this was the case, the outcome of this battle might not be certain. He looked at Zichen and said, I feel that I am beginning to believe in this world again. Zichen did not respond, but looked at the second 9th level spirit spell cultivator. The black-robed man narrowed his eyes and killing intent surged in his eyes. Swish. Ocon's figure flashed and came in front of the black-robed man. Your opponent is me. Next, even if the Pure Land loses more than half, I will stop you. The 3 of you, kill him. The black-robed man snorted. I don't believe that he can fight 1 against 3. The other 3 9th level spirit spell cultivators directly charged towards Zichen. The 3 of them joined forces. The terrifying shockwave formed directly sent Haydn and the others flying. Just the aura fluctuation alone was something they could not block. Zichen stood there motionlessly, waiting for the 3 to arrive. The 3 of them approached. One of them shouted angrily, courting death. It was the first time for them to be underestimated like this. He slammed out a palm and a terrifying palm print, carrying the aura of the 9th level, went straight for Zichen. Facing this palm, Zichen raised his hand. 2 fingers pressed down like a sword. Kai. A sharp light appeared. The sharp light moved forward and turned into a huge blade light, extremely terrifying. Mountain cutting technique. Ji Shan's move from back then, many years later, appeared in the immortal lore world. The palm print in front was instantly split into 2. Following that, the light did not decrease in power and charged towards a 9th level spirit spell cultivator. Puff. The body of the 9th level spirit spell cultivator was directly split into 2. The second person at the 9th level of spirit cultivation had died. At this time, the other 2 people, one on the left and one on the right, arrived in front of Zichen. Each of them attacked. Their palms were like blades, directly chopping towards Zichen's neck, intending to chop off Zichen's head. Zichen stood there, facing the attacks of the 2 without dodging. Their glowing palms landed on Zichen's neck one after another. However, their tyrannical strength did not manage to chop off Zichen's head. It was as if they were striking steel, and the recoil caused their palms to feel incomparable pain. When the 2 saw this, their faces couldn't help but change greatly, and they were about to retreat. At this moment, Zichen stretched out his palm and slapped the 2 of them on the head. With a loud explosion, the 2 of them were sent flying. After falling to the ground, there was no sign of life. Previously, Zichen had said that they were all at the 9th level of spirit cultivation, so why were they so weak? In the blink of an eye, the 4 of them were killed cleanly. Only the black-robed man was left. However, he was a powerful spell destroyer. Hayden and the others were extremely excited. At this moment, the situation had completely reversed. Even if they couldn't kill this person, as long as both sides worked together, there wouldn't be any problems protecting this pure land. Interesting. This is really interesting. The black-robed man glanced at Ocon and then at Zichen. I didn't expect that today. I would be pecked in the eye by a wild goose, causing me to lose 4 subordinates. Following which, a cold intent flashed across the black-robed man's eyes. However, if you think that you already have victory in your grasp, then I can only say that you are childish. Zichen's eyes flashed slightly. His body suddenly shifted to the side, and then the aura around him exploded. Wang. The aura of the 9th level of spirit cultivation, but it was much stronger than the previous 4. Like an eruption of a mountain flood, the aura was surging. Zichen punched forward, and it looked like he was hitting the air. In the next moment, there was a huge tremor. A powerful shockwave spread out in all directions, and Zichen's body slid backwards. In front of him, the black-robed man's figure appeared. He looked at Zichen with a stunned face. You can actually see me? At this moment, the black-robed man in the distance disappeared. Don't let him run away. Ocon reacted and let out a loud shout. The pure land shook, and the spiritual power between heaven and earth gathered crazily towards Ocon, and then pressed towards the black-robed man. In Zichen's perception, Ocon, the master of the Pure Land, mobilized the power of the Pure Land. He wasn't surprised by this kind of fighting method. Sitting in the Pure Land, like the world lord of the 10,000 spiritual realm, could borrow the power of the world itself. You are courting death. A murderous intent flashed in the black-robed man's eyes. The power of Spell Destroyer was then mobilized, and he immediately broke free from Ocon's suppression. Swish. He didn't fight desperately, but wanted to escape. At this moment, Zichen's foot tapped, and his figure soared into the air, and another punch fell. There was a loud boom. Ocon was beaten back for the second time. Ocon took the opportunity to punch down, and the black-robed man turned around to block. The fist light exploded in front of him. He also borrowed the force, wanting to escape. Thus, Zichen defeated the opponent for the 3rd time. Surrounding Luo and the others were shocked. It was just that the power displayed by Zichen, who was at the 9th level of spiritual cultivation, was too strong. In their view, Zichen could deal with the black-robed man with ease. But no one knew why Zichen didn't kill the black-robed man. Could it be that he wanted Ocon to kill the other party? The black-robed man who was beaten back turned around and punched Ocon. Even if he mobilized the power of the Pure Land, Ocon still coughed up blood. He was injured previously, and now he was no match for the black-robed man. Haha, It seems that you can't kill me at all. The black-robed man laughed. If that's the case, then I'll leave. As soon as the words fell, the black-robed man's figure swayed in midair and disappeared. Zi-Chen, don't let him escape. Okon shouted. Once such an existence escaped, what followed would be a disaster. Seeing this, Zi-Chen could only reach out his hand again. This time, it was no longer to stop. He directly attacked. 2 fingers slashed down. Heaven-cleaving technique. The light flew into the sky, directly tearing a huge gap there. The Pure Land was broken in one move. The black-robed man appeared. He turned his head and looked at Zi-Chen in disbelief. He only had time to say one word, and his body was split into 2 in midair and smashed to the ground. Dead. A Dharma destroyer died just like that. At this moment, everyone was stunned. They were saved, and everyone's face should have been ecstatic. But at this moment, when they regained their senses, there was only fear in their eyes. At this moment. If Zi-Chen wanted to, he could kill everyone here. Then, the master of the Pure Land would naturally change hands. Zi-Chen didn't seem to see the fear in everyone's eyes. He walked in front of the dead Dharma destroyer and searched his body. He didn't find anything. Soon, he saw the other party's ring and immediately took it off. After that, he didn't say anything and turned to leave. He only took the spoils of war from the Dharma destroyer and left the items of the other 4 9th-level spirit spellmasters. Okon stood there, his face pale. Looking at Zi-Chen's back, he said emotionally, "We really met an incredible existence. This is our luck." The others nodded. If Zi-Chen wanted, Okon's Pure Land would change its name today. But he obviously didn't. Turning to leave was his attitude. Okon said, if he wants, Rat Road Street will belong to him from now on. Chapter 52-23. Okon waved his hand and looked at Wei Luo with disdain. Do you think he cares about your little bit of light of law? Wei Luo was stunned when he heard that, then smiled bitterly and said, yes, I'm shallow. Back then, I insisted on increasing the share, but he didn't care. Now that I think about it, it's really childish and laughable. Okon said, the so-called strong are for the common people of the world. He was like this before, and is also like this when he reorganized Rat Road Street. On the side, a person staggered forward. Sir, I think his realm isn't as high as yours. Okon glanced at him. The others also had pity in their eyes. He really didn't know how to chat. That Zi-Chen was obviously not an ordinary person. Not to mention that the injured sir was no match for him. Wasn't that Law Destroyer also killed in one move? What was the use of having a high realm? Didn't he know that the strong could fight above their realm? If he doesn't leave, go and apologize to him. Okon looked at Wei Luo. Wei Luo immediately nodded. Then, Okon said again, from now on, the price of entering the Pure Land will be increased by 3 times. Originally, it was 100 light of law per person, but now it was 300. When Wei Luo heard that, his eyes flashed with coldness. Sir is benevolent. This was not sarcasm, but the truth. Those people had run away earlier, and now they wanted to come back. 3 times the price was indeed benevolent. After all, they left when there was danger, and now that the danger was over, they wanted to come back. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Wei Luo was particularly concerned about this matter, so he immediately arranged for someone to guard the door. In order to avoid suspicion, Zi-Chen left and returned to Hayden's inn. There was no one here. He looked at the counter, and the wine on it had been emptied. It seemed that Hayden's loss this time was not small. They should have all left. Xiao Zhu, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. It had been a long time since the battle ended, but her heart was still filled with shock and fascination. She hoped that one day, she could become so powerful. Zi-Chen smiled slightly, then left and came to Rat Road Street. The streets of Rat Road were empty. However, as Zi-Chen appeared, one existence after another walked out of the inn. After seeing Zi-Chen, immediately cheered. When the shopkeepers walked out of the inn and saw Zi-Chen, they immediately bowed respectfully and called him sir. Zi-Chen nodded at the crowd and said, "It's fine, get back to work." Even louder cheers sounded. "By the way, find me a room." I'll be staying here from now on, Zichen said. Sir, stay at my place. My place. Bullsh*T, your place is a shared bed, how can people live there? The shopkeepers were very they's words at this moment, they sincerely, they was ye. The news quickly spread, and those who had not managed to escape in time rejoiced incomparably. If they had, they would have 100 of them. However, following that, another piece of news spread. From now on, the fee to enter the Pure Land would be increased to 300 daos of light. Luo Chen's was ye. Outside the Pure Land, howls of grief filled the air. It was a stark contrast. Wei Luo came to the inn. The moment he saw Zichen, he cupped his fists and apologized. Zichen waved his hand and said, "It's fine. If it were me, I would do the same." Hearing Zichen's words, Wei Luo felt much more relieved. It seemed that Yi Shiwen didn't hold a grudge. He brought 2 pots of good wine with him. The two sat down and drank. Wei Luo said, before coming, Sir Okon said that from today onwards, Rat Road Street will be completely managed by you. There will be no fees during this period. Zichen nodded and didn't refuse his kindness. If he didn't accept it, Okon might not be able to feel at ease. Seeing Zichen nod his head, Wei Luo continued, "Actually, I came here with the intention of returning the light of law to you. But Sir Okon said that someone like you obviously doesn't care about these things." Zichen was stunned when he heard that. "You didn't even give it. How do you know what others think?" Wei Luo was also stunned. He looked at Zichen. The two looked at each other like this. Then Wei Luo tentatively took out those light of laws and said, "How about I return these to you?" Zichen reached out and grabbed the light of laws. Then he took it out. "Since Okon said that I'll be managing this place, then returning it to me is also right. If I don't accept it, it would seem pretentious." Finished speaking, Zichen accepted those light of laws. How much could a sir be worth? Obtaining these light of laws was enough for Lil Bamboo to refine. This made Wei Luo stare blankly. His Excellency really didn't regard himself as an outsider. But this wasn't a bad thing either. Taking things was better than not taking them. After drinking, Wei Luo returned to report. That night, the inns of Rat Road Street were all full. The reason was that those people who paid a huge price to return were practically embarrassingly short of money. They could only come to this place. In addition, the environment of Rat Road Street was indeed much better. The prices were low, and it was clean and tidy. It could naturally attract many people. The crisis was resolved. Everything returned to normal. Outside the Pure Land, another group of people arrived. Unlike the 5 raiders from before, this group of people was all injured. They walked towards Okon's Pure Land. 300 light of laws per person. The new person in charge directly said to these people. If it was the previous person, he would have been scared stiff by such a lineup. The group of people was slightly stunned, as if they weren't used to it. That person continued, "Our Pure Land just went through a great battle and killed several raiders. Therefore, Lord Okon said that the price for everyone who enters the Pure Land will be increased from the original 100 light of laws to 300 light of laws." Being able to kill a well-prepared raider was a surprise to all of them. They didn't say much. After giving the light of laws, they entered the Pure Land. These people clearly looked down on Rat Road Street and went to the inn on Hayden Street. In the next few days, injured existences came to Okon's Pure Land one after another. The originally quiet Pure Land became a place of hidden dragons and crouching tigers in a short few days. Because those injured people were all staying in inns to recuperate. Once they recovered from their injuries, they would become an extremely terrifying force. It shouldn't be a problem to overturn a Pure Land. Zichen didn't know about this. He had been staying in the inn on Rat Road Street. Currently, there wasn't a single spirit mage here. Very simple, they didn't like it. Those spirit mags didn't like this place, but Okon liked it. Today, he personally came to visit. The moment he saw Zichen, he took out a cloth bag. Zichen opened it in confusion and saw that there were 10 crystals inside. Instantly, the light illuminated the room. Surging energy flowed out. "This is..." Zichen looked at Okon. Crystallization of Laws. Chapter 52-24. Chen took out a law crystal, which contained even purer and richer heaven and earth energy than law spirits. It could be considered an advanced version. Okon said, "This one is equivalent to 1,000 law spirits. It's very easy to exchange the former for the latter, but it's much more difficult to exchange for a law crystal with law spirits." When Chen heard this, his expression changed slightly. A law spirit was equivalent to 100 law lights. In that case, this law crystal was comparable to 100,000 law lights. Okon took out a total of 10 law crystals, which were equivalent to 1,000,000 law lights. He looked at Okon, waiting for him to continue. If it was just to thank him for last time, he would have come long ago and not wait until today. To be honest, there are too many people here this time, and I'm worried that some of them are plotting something. I hope you can guard the core of the Pure Land, Okon said with a worried expression, because once the core of the Pure Land is shattered, the Pure Land will disintegrate and eventually dissipate from this world. Obviously, he paid a high price to hire a bodyguard. Chen said, "I've heard about those people. With my strength, I'm afraid I won't be able to fight them." Chen knew what he was capable of. Okon said, "At the critical moment, I can give you the power of the Pure Land." Chen was very surprised, because handing over the power of the Pure Land meant that the Pure Land would change owners. Looking at Chen's doubtful eyes, Okon said, "If you really wanted this Pure Land, it would have been yours from the start. So, I trust you on this matter." Chen put away the crystal and said, "I promise I'll do my best, but I won't protect it with my life." Okang laughed heartily, "Your words are enough." Chen said, "May I ask why so many injured people came here?" Okon said in a deep voice, "To be honest, a new Pure Land was discovered nearby, and everyone came from there." Chen looked at Okon. "So, the last time you were injured, you also came back from there?" Okon nodded. It was said that after the immortal spirit died, it would turn into a Pure Land. For the people who lived here, the Pure Land contained great wealth. Other than resources, some people were lucky enough to find treasures left behind by immortal spirits, which could be used to increase their own strength. Chen and Okon walked towards the core of the Pure Land. Aside from humans, there were also ancestral beasts and mantis demons. "I was injured by one of the mantis demons, so I had to retreat with everyone." Okon talked about the Pure Land while walking. "Hybrid demons." Chen was a little surprised. "What's that?" "There's another race that's our sworn enemy. We won't rest until we're dead." This reminded Chen of the extralegal demons. However, he did not ask whether extralegal demons and fiends were the same. Once again, they came to the core. The spirit energy here was extremely dense. Okon brought Chen to visit the core of the Pure Land. There were some buildings here that were built by Okon and his people. "This place is already dense. After I used the spirit gathering array, the spirit energy became even denser." Okon said proudly, "Here, it's the same day and night. There's no need to worry about spirit energy consumption." Looking at the proud Okon, Chen did not say anything. These buildings looked very beautiful, but if one carefully sensed the spirit arrays below, they were really ordinary. However, thinking about it, Chen had obtained the inheritance of the Tao of Divine Inscriptions, and there were too many high-level arrays in it. Along the way, they met some beautiful maids. After seeing the two of them, these maids also stopped and knelt down to salute. After Okon waved his hand, they left. Chen's soul power spread out in all directions, and this time, he began to explore the depths of the core. Then, he found that there were actually a lot of women. It seemed that Okon was very fond of this. Just after releasing his soul power, he found a strange place. The energy flow there was somewhat different. Or rather, it was incompatible with this Pure Land. But Chen felt a sense of familiarity. He originally thought that Okon would take him there to take a look, but Okon did not. It should be a strange place, and Chen did not ask much. After that, he lived in the depths. In order to not be affected by Okon, Chen deliberately lived in a farther place. Okon actually did not care. Along the way, he said that he would give his women to Chen. At the same time, he He said that sending maids was not good enough, and he could only send his women. He even asked Zichen to pick and take away whichever he liked. Zichen refused. He was not good at this. Next, Zichen lived in the depths of the Pure Land, on guard against someone suddenly attacking. As Okon said, after coming here, his strength would almost never disappear. There was no need to worry about the night. This was much better than the periphery. Compared to the outside of the Pure Land, it was the difference between heaven and hell. As time passed, people recovered from their injuries one after another. This Pure Land was immediately no longer peaceful. Where there were people, there would be Jianghu. Where there was Jianghu, there would be fighting. When enemies met, their eyes would be exceptionally red. A great battle broke out. After the battle, several inns on Haydn Street had collapsed. Hearing this news, Zichen could not sit still. His Rat Road Street had already collapsed an inn, and it had not been rebuilt yet. If someone destroyed a few more, it would be troublesome. It would affect business. Seeing that Zichen was about to leave, Okon hurriedly said, "Be careful, this is the enemy's diversion." Zichen waved his hand and said, "No matter. If there is an accident, I will rush over immediately." After hearing this, Okon became anxious. That Rat Road Street has almost no value. Why do you care? How about this? After this matter is over, I will build a street nearby and give it to you. Clearly, after the previous incident, Okon was completely afraid. He was worried about what if. Zichen refused. He repeatedly told Okon that if there was any danger, he would definitely rush over in time. Okon naturally did not agree. He thought to himself, "Why do you, Zichen, care about that lousy place?" Zichen said, "This might be the enemy's probing. If we don't go out to stop it, they might set the battlefield here in the next moment. Therefore, going out early might be a good way to resolve the crisis." Okon thought about it and felt that it made sense. He then said, "This is also good. But you have to take care of the other streets. Don't just look at Rat Road Street. After the matter is over, you can ask for any street you want. Rat Road Street is pretty good." Zichen left the depths and walked outside. After the first battle broke out, no one came out to stop it. The second battle soon broke out. The surrounding buildings were even more damaged. Zichen came out. His indifferent voice spread all around. "Okon's Pure Land forbids fighting. If you want to fight, go out and fight. But before that, compensate for the losses." This sentence quickly spread. The eyes of Haydn and the others who were vexed immediately lit up when they heard Zichen's voice. Was Lord Zichen going to make an appearance? "Who do you think you are? How dare you control us? A small lousy place like this has rules. I will destroy this place on purpose. Come out and stand in front of me. Let's see if you still have the guts to speak." As Zichen's voice fell, loud curses immediately rang out. Chapter 52-25. Zichen's words were followed by a wave of scolding. No one was afraid of such a threat. And once one person scolded, the others started to scold as well. They had all recovered from their injuries and had some strength now. For a moment, the scolding continued. Zichen appeared from the scolding. He walked over from the street with a cold expression. "Those who violate the rules, die. Who do you think you are?" Immediately, a 6th-level spirit spell cultivator walked out. He pointed at Zichen's nose and said, "Dog, why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? What kind of morals are you?" As the first bird to stand out, Zichen of course wouldn't hold back. He was like a ray of light, flying forward from the street. The 6th-level spirit spell cultivator also shouted and punched forward. Hong! A huge tremor sounded. The 6th-level spirit spell cultivator flew out. He landed 100 feet away. After crashing onto the ground, he started to cough blood, his eyes filled with shock. Zichen appeared beside him, his eyes cold. "Those who violate the rules, die." With a stomp, the other party was trampled to death with a loud bang. A 6th-level spirit spell cultivator died just like that. Immediately, many people were shocked. Zichen's gaze swept around. Those who were scolding earlier all turned their heads to look elsewhere. Calculate the losses and let the people who destroyed this place pay 10 times the compensation, Zichen said indifferently. 10 times the compensation, you really dare to ask for an exorbitant price. Just at this moment, a mocking laugh sounded. Zichen looked at the other party and said, 100 times the compensation. You still dare to challenge me, you have some skills. The other party laughed coldly and said, seeing how you killed a 6th level spirit spell cultivator so cleanly, I wonder what you can do against a 7th level spirit spell cultivator like me. The moment his words fell, without waiting for Zichen to make a move, this 7th level spirit spell cultivator took the initiative to make a move. His figure flashed and disappeared. Hong. Zichen narrowed his eyes and snorted coldly. He immediately turned around and punched behind him. Following the appearance of this punch, the 7th level spirit spell cultivator who had just disappeared appeared in front of Zichen's fist. It looked as if he had taken the initiative to collide with Zichen's fist. With a loud boom, the other party was also sent flying. The next moment, Zichen lifted his foot. Wait! The other party shouted, his face full of fear. But it was useless. Since he was trying to establish his might, there was naturally no way he would spare his life. His foot chopped down. Boom. 7th layer of spirit spell realm, dead. To be able to kill a 7th level spirit spell cultivator so easily, he had to be at least in the 8th stage or even the 9th stage. Furthermore, with such a strong combat strength, there was a possibility that he might be even stronger. The surroundings instantly became quiet. Zichen said nothing more and turned to leave. It was only after he had walked far away that the sounds of discussion could be heard. I didn't expect that there would be such a character in this tiny pure land. In the crowd, a middle-aged man smiled faintly. Beside him, someone whispered, Sir, could he be a destroyer of laws? The middle-aged man shook his head. It doesn't seem like it. Sensing the energy fluctuations, it's only at the spirit spell realm. However, it's definitely not an ordinary spirit spell. As for the specifics, I'll need another decent opponent. Why don't I go test him? The person beside him immediately said. Forget it. He's obviously killing people to establish his might. It's good if you go out and win. If you lose, then only death awaits you. The middle-aged man waved his hand and said, Let's go. We'll go to Rat Road Street. Rat Road Street? That person has quite a few inns there. He's called Zichen. He's an outsider who came here not long ago. This place was already destroyed beyond recognition. Naturally, he had to leave and find a new place to stay. Hearing the discussions in the distance, he had a simple understanding of Zichen. The two of them walked to Rat Road Street and found an inn to stay in. Zichen also returned to his residence and continued to guard this place. Not long after, Wei Luo came. He had a good relationship with Ocon. Other than his own ability, his sister was also Ocon's wife. Sir, how is it? After Wei Luo came in, he asked respectfully. After witnessing Zichen's strength the last time, he became extremely respectful towards Zichen. Zichen said, there are at least 2 Dharma destroyers. What? Wei Luo's expression could not help but change. This was extremely unexpected. Before coming, Ocon said that there might be 1 Dharma destroyer among these people. But Zichen said that there were at least 2. Relatively speaking, he was more willing to believe Zichen's words. Then what should we do? Wei Luo said worriedly, will they target this place? Zichen said, from the looks of it, they shouldn't. Wei Luo said again, could it be that their goal is still that pure land? Obviously, Wei Luo also knew about that pure land. Zichen looked at Wei Luo. You know about it too? Wei Luo nodded. Rumor has it that the Pure Land is connected to a strange world. So many people have come this time. One reason is for the things in the Pure Land. Another reason is to find that strange world. Looking at Zichen's puzzled expression, Wei Luo said again, rumor has it that there are unlimited resources in that strange world. As long as you enter it, it will be very easy to advance to Dharma Destroyer. Now, Zichen was only 1 step away from Dharma Destroyer. If there was a chance, naturally, he would go and take a look. After the previous strong show of power, No one dared to cause trouble here anymore. This Pure Land calmed down again. However, Okon, who was in the depths, was not at ease. He was also a Dharma destroyer. With the support of the Pure Land's power, his battle strength was about between the second and third level of Dharma destroyer. This kind of battle strength was not weak. Unfortunately, after experiencing the previous incident, Okang was beaten until he was scared. Recently, he had been on tenterhooks. He kept feeling that everyone was plotting against him. A few more days passed. Fewer people came in, and more people went out. Gradually, the news of the newly discovered Pure Land began to spread. Zichen walked out of the inn. On Rat Road Street, he met two people. A middle-aged man followed by a servant. The road was very wide, but the other party took the initiative to stop. Zichen also stopped and looked at the other party. "You should go there and take a look. Maybe you'll find something." After saying this, the other party nodded at Zichen with a smile and then left the Pure Land. In fact, Zichen had this idea when he came out this time. However, before that, he had to ensure the safety of this Pure Land. After the other party left, the people who had given Zichen an extraordinary feeling also left one after another. Thus, Zichen went to the depths and found Okon. The Dharma destroyers should have left. Okon heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that he really came to recuperate. According to the agreement, you can choose a street. Even if it's here, it's fine to rebuild one. Rat Road Street is pretty good. Zichen said, "I want to go to that Pure Land to take a look." After saying that, Zichen turned and left. He was obviously not asking for Okon's opinion. Instead, he was telling him about this matter. "Help me take care of little Bamboo. If I don't come back, give Rat Road Street to her." Okon watched Zichen leave, and his expression changed several times. Not long after, Zichen suddenly turned around and saw Okon following him. "My injuries have recovered. I'll go there and take a look." Chapter 52-26. Okon and Zichen left the Pure Land. Okon said, "You insisted on that Rat Road Street because of that little girl called Little Bamboo? So, you won't be staying here for long, right?" Zichen nodded and didn't hide anything. The harvest from Rat Road Street should be enough for her cultivation. Okon asked, "Where are you going?" "I'm not sure." Zichen indeed didn't have a goal in coming here. If there was one, it would be to find Ji Shan. But the immortal spell world had changed so much that it was too difficult to find Ji Shan. To put it bluntly, when the immortal spell world was in danger, Ji Shan forcefully closed the passage. His original goal was to let the people of the 10,000 spirit world grow up and come to the immortal spell world to help. But too much time had passed and the immortal spell world situation had changed. There was nothing he could help with. He didn't ask Okon about Ji Shan but asked about the wasteland. The entire world was a wasteland and the Pure Land was like a city standing in the wasteland. Compared to the vast wasteland, there weren't many of them. Actually, the Pure Land is also divided into levels. Zichen turned to look at Okon. He had never heard of it before. Okon said, "After obtaining a Pure Land, there will be pure energy in the core that can allow one to break through. For example, my Pure Land. When I obtained it, I was only at the 9th level of the spirit spell realm. It was because I refined the energy in it that I crossed the last step and advanced to the 1st level of the annihilation realm." Then, Okon sighed. "But that's the end. The remaining resources aren't enough for me to advance again. So my Pure Land is only the lowest level of Pure Land." Zichen said, "Could it be that after obtaining a Pure Land of the corresponding level, one can advance to the corresponding realm?" Okon nodded. "If it's a newly discovered Pure Land, it's indeed so. But this doesn't include those Pure Lands that already have a master." Zichen still didn't understand. Okon said, "Because the core resources of the Pure Land have already been refined by the master of the Pure Land." Zichen nodded, indicating that he understood. Okon continued, "So, if you want to advance, it's useless even if you get my Pure Land now. However, if you get my Pure Land and wait patiently for hundreds or even thousands of years, the energy slowly accumulating in the core of the Pure Land may help you level up." This sentence was truly from the bottom of his heart. This was equivalent to Ocon revealing his biggest secret to Zichen. This naturally stemmed from trust. Zichen nodded. In that case, it's better to find the new Pure Land. Ocon said, it's not just worth it, it's really worth it. The Pure Land is said to be the greatest opportunity here. Zichen suddenly asked, are there many Pure Lands in this wasteland? I'm not sure, but there should be quite a few. There are no less than 10 Pure Lands around us. Ocon said, however, the highest level of the Pure Land is only level 3. The master of the Pure Land is level 3 of the Law Annihilation Realm. His battle power is equivalent to level 4 to level 5 of the Law Annihilation Realm. Regarding the battle power, Ocon had told him previously that with his level 1 Law Annihilation Realm power, he would have no problem facing a level 2 Law Annihilation Realm in the Pure Land. He could even fight against a level 3 Law Annihilation Realm. That black-robed man was an accident. Because he took advantage of the fact that Ocon was seriously injured to kill his way over. Following that, Ocon talked about some other things. For example, the ancestor beast that Zichen had seen was the lowest level. They had no flesh and blood, only soul flames. Hybrid demons were another race. They were extremely powerful and were born to oppose them. It was said that hybrid demons also lived in the Pure Land, but it was not called the Pure Land, but the Devil Land. The others walked very quickly and in a blink of an eye, they were nowhere to be seen. Zichen and Ocon walked at the back. Suddenly, Zichen turned his head and looked to the side. 1,000 feet away, an ancestor beast had appeared. It dug the ground rapidly and very soon, it picked up a person from the ground. Accompanied by a scream, that person turned into a skeleton. This was the rule of the wasteland. Zichen furrowed his brows. Ocon said, this world is like this. You can't do anything about it. Even if you have the ability and the intention, there is no such large Pure Land in this world for them to live in. There is. Zichen suddenly said. Is there such a large Pure Land? Ocon stared in disbelief. The wasteland is big enough. Zichen looked up at the sky. Ocon said, you mean to kill all the ancestor beasts? I have to say, this idea is very noble. But if the wasteland has no ancestor beasts, those people will die even faster. If this was the immortal spell world, then the rules of heaven and earth were not like this in the past. It was just that later, it was destroyed. But if the order of heaven and earth was restored, everything would naturally return to normal. Zichen said, what if we turn the wasteland into a Pure Land? Ocon's eyes widened in shock. After a long time, he came back to his senses and gave Zichen a thumbs up. Your idea is really extraordinary. In Ocon's understanding, the world was like this and could not be changed. But Zichen was different. He came from a different world. As soon as he arrived at his destination, he could feel the fluctuations of a battle. Currently, he did not see where the Pure Land was. There was a chaotic battle ahead. Zichen saw the ancestor beasts with flesh and blood and the hybrid demons that Ocon mentioned. The moment Zichen saw the hybrid demon, he knew that it was the extra-legal demon. It seemed that no matter where they were, the two sides were hostile. At the same time, Zichen also saw the middle-aged man. He stood at the back of the crowd and did not join the battle. After seeing Zichen, the other party nodded slightly. Ao Kang's eyes swept around as if he was looking for something. Rat! A loud shout suddenly sounded, like a clap of thunder, with a buzzing sound. Hearing this voice, Ocon's expression suddenly changed. He stared at the person who spoke. What did you say? The other party sneered and said, I said you're a rat. Back then, you ran quite fast. I thought you were too scared to come. That was a hybrid demon. Zichen guessed that he was the one who injured Ocon. Do you want to die? At this moment, everyone's gazes were cast over. Ocon could not afford to lose face, so he could only brace himself. Oh, you've become capable. The other party walked forward. Ocon gritted his teeth and said, come at me if you can. At this moment, he naturally had to lose face. At this moment, another hybrid demon appeared and whispered a few words in the ear of the previous person. That hybrid demon snorted and said, I'll let you live a little longer. When the demonic land opens, I'll take your life. Ocon heaved a sigh of relief. Obviously, they were not going to fight. To be honest, he could not defeat the other party. Last time, he had brought so many people and they were all injured. At this moment, the hybrid demon looked at Zichen. "What are you looking at?" "Cass, gouge his eyes out." Immediately, a hybrid demon walked out from behind. He released his aura. Chapter 52:27. A mantis demon walked forward, filled with murderous intent. The previous battle was just a small skirmish. As the 8th stage realm mantis demon released his aura, the battle stopped. Everyone turned their heads and looked towards this direction. "My lord, they are about to fight." The man beside the middle-aged man was slightly agitated. The middle-aged man nodded. In this way, they would be able to see the true depth of this Zichen. Zichen looked at the approaching mantis demon and frowned slightly. Ocon saw this and shouted angrily, "Do you want to die?" Scram. He was a little fearful towards the mantis demon in the law extermination realm. But to deal with a mere spiritual spell, there was no problem at all. "I think the one who wants to die is you," that mantis demon said coldly. "You dare to meddle in other people's business, I will destroy you." Ocon and that existence looked at each other, neither giving in. At this moment, everyone was actually restraining themselves. Because the Pure Land had not appeared, if a battle broke out now, it would be disadvantageous. Just like the previous time, when there was some strange movement, everyone couldn't wait to fight. In the end, before the Pure Land appeared, both sides were injured. Hence, they had no choice but to find a place nearby to recuperate. So this time, everyone was restraining themselves. Even if there were people fighting, it was just a small skirmish. Zichen stretched out his hand and stopped Ocon's action. Since the other party wanted to find trouble, then he would solve it. The 8th stage realm mantis demon gave a cruel smile. "If I kill you, I should be able to gain something." Zichen smiled when he heard that. "That's exactly what I want." Courting death. The other party narrowed his eyes and charged towards Zichen. Zichen stood on the spot, his right hand clenched into a fist. He punched out. Infinite light bloomed, like a huge sun rising slowly. A loud boom was heard on the empty ground. The 8th stage realm mantis demon came quickly and left even faster. Boom. He crashed heavily onto the ground and numerous bones turned into ashes. Everyone was stunned. No one had expected Zichen to be so strong. The expression of the mantra extermination realm Yimo changed. Swoosh. Zichen's body disappeared. In the next moment, he appeared beside the 8th stage hybrid demon and viciously stomped down with his leg. "Stop." That law extermination realm Yimo let out a furious roar and charged forward. Zichen ignored the voice and continued to descend. Boom. With him as the center, energy shockwaves spread out in all directions. Beneath his feet, the hybrid demon's body began to disintegrate layer by layer. In the end, all that was left was a skeleton. Beside the withered bones was a pure light of law. In other words, it was a law spirit. However, Zichen had never seen such purity in his life. Zichen bent down to pick up the Tao law spirit. Die. The spell extermination realm hybrid demon arrived and slapped towards Zichen's head. The tyrannical power of annihilation circulated wildly. At such a close distance, Zichen felt that his own strength was somewhat shaky. This was the strength of a spell destroyer. Fortunately, he was not weak. The aura around his body was fully activated. While blocking the other party's attack, he did not forget to pick up the law spirit on the ground. Boom. The two of them clashed and Zichen's body slid backwards. A long gully was left on the wasteland. The hybrid demon was at the starting point of the gully. Zichen was at the end of the gully. The surroundings were silent as everyone looked at the two of them. To be precise, they were looking at Zichen. The aura surrounding his body was only at the 9th level of the spirit realm. However, he blocked the attack of a first-stage spell extermination realm hybrid demon. Across the gully, Zichen glanced at the hybrid demon and then walked towards Ocon. Everyone's gaze followed Zichen's movements. The spell extermination realm hybrid demon did not continue to attack. Is this still considered a law spirit? Chen came in front of Ocon and took out the light and asked. Ocon nodded and explained, "This is the most special law spirit. It can be refined quickly and is an emergency recovery item on the battlefield. This kind of thing is usually not used for transactions." Chen nodded. He had already sensed the difference earlier. Then, his gaze swept around and looked at the hybrid demon in the distance with a gloomy expression. "If I kill him, what will I get here?" Ocon's expression changed slightly and said, "A pure law crystal." The two of them did not speak loudly, but everyone present was extraordinary and could naturally hear it. For a moment, their expressions changed again. "Come over if you have the ability." The hybrid demon's face was ashen. He had been suppressing himself and did not kill anyone, but now, a mere 9 powers realm wanted to kill him. Did he think he was a pushover? He naturally could not tolerate this kind of provocation. "Who is willing to lend me a hand? After this is done, I am willing to give up the law crystal. I just don't like him." Chen looked around and said. Many people were tempted. A law crystal was too tempting. Unfortunately, they were not strong enough and did not dare to face the hybrid demon head-on. Those with strength would not act unless they saw a rabbit. Naturally, they would not make a move easily. Chen said regretfully, "It seems that you can still live a little longer." The hybrid demon said coldly, "When we enter the Pure Land, you will be the first to die." Chen was not to be outdone. "I have reserved your law crystal in advance. I am afraid that you won't be able to hear it when you die, so I will thank you in advance." The hybrid demon's eyes flashed with killing intent. The other hybrid demons were the same. Chen was not afraid at all and looked at him calmly. In another direction, the ancestor beasts with flesh and blood gathered together and watched this scene coldly. Chen could not see how intelligent they were. In contrast, the spirit race was gathered in groups of 3 to 5. It seemed that the spirit race had the most people, but they were not united. The next step was to wait. During this period, there were no more battles. Everyone was very restrained. Suddenly, dozens of miles behind them, an abnormality appeared in the space. "The entrance to the Pure Land is there," someone shouted. Everyone immediately changed direction and went straight to the spatial abnormality. Chen touched his nose. "Even the entrance can be wrong." Ocon said, "The abnormality was indeed here before, but I don't know why it changed this time." The two also changed direction and went straight ahead. The space in front of them was constantly distorted. "It can't be the same as last time, a feint, right?" someone muttered in his heart. At this moment, the distorted space was broken by a strong force, forming a passage. "It's the Pure Land. The Pure Land has opened. Rumor has it that there is another world in this Pure Land. Hurry up, follow." A tyrannical aura surged. Ancestor beasts, spirit race, and hybrid demons, these 3 different races, madly rushed forward. When they got close, they turned into light and entered the Pure Land. A newly opened Pure Land. There must be good things inside. Ocon was also very excited and said, "Chen, if you are lucky this time, you might be able to break through." Chapter 52:28. Energy flowed and a spatial entrance appeared. Everyone flew towards the spatial entrance. That was the Pure Land. There would be fortuitous encounters in the newly opened Pure Land. It was a huge fortuitous encounter. Chen and Ocon didn't hesitate and entered. In the Pure Land, spirit energy was abundant and rushed towards them. Ocon sensed the concentration of spirit energy here and said excitedly, "Level 2 Pure Land, it's at least a level 2 Pure Land." The reason why he was so excited was that once he obtained this Pure Land, he would definitely be able to advance to the 2nd level of the Law Destruction Realm and his combat strength would increase again. But after the excitement, Ocon calmed down again. With so many people here, it was too difficult for him to obtain this Pure Land. To be honest, Chen had a higher chance of success than him. "Get lost." An angry shout sounded, "This is mine." A battle broke out. For a stalk of spirit herb. The spirit herb shone brightly, releasing a dazzling light. Chen's soul power extended. In his perception, that spirit herb seemed to be a law crystal. "This is the first time we're here, so there are many fortuitous encounters. After we finish mining, The Pure Land will return to normal. Just as the battle broke out in front, someone avoided the battlefield and flew towards the depths. Okon looked at Zichen and said, "They've gone to the depths. We have to hurry." Zichen nodded. The two of them went straight into the depths. Those who stayed here were almost all existences below the 7th level of the law realm. They didn't have the guts to enter the depths, so they could only fight in the periphery. Once they obtained a stalk of spirit herb, it would be a huge gain. Zichen's soul power had already been released, but it was inexplicably blocked. His expression changed slightly. Okon said, "Before the Pure Land is completely opened, we can't sense the situation in the depths." Suddenly, a terrifying aura surged out from an unknown space. A huge creature walked out from the depths. "It's a creature of the Pure Land," Okon said excitedly. "A Pure Land with creatures must not be low level. This Pure Land might even be a level 3 Pure Land. Zichen, we're rich. Even if we don't control the Pure Land, if we obtain other fortuitous encounters, we will definitely have huge gains. It's not impossible to break through again." Buzz. Light blossomed beneath the feet of the person in front. It was a huge array diagram that was emitting a terrifying aura. A Dharma destroyer stood on top of the formation and pointed forward. A strong light flew out from the array diagram and shot towards the Pure Land's life form. Pu. The light instantly pierced through the Pure Land's creature's body. The huge body of the Pure Land creature fell down with a loud crash. The light formation under that person's feet was still there, and he was moving forward quickly. "What's that?" Zichen asked. "It's the seal of a formation," Okon said. "It can stimulate one's combat strength to the greatest extent, just like a dharmic armament." As soon as he finished speaking, a sword light soared into the sky and killed another creature of the Pure Land. Okon lamented, "There is indeed a dharmic armament. This time around, there are indeed many hidden talent." In Zichen's perception, the realm of the Pure Land's creatures was around the 8th stage. There were many of them, and they were rushing out from the depths. "Let's go." Okon signaled Zichen to continue moving forward, deliberately avoiding the Pure Land's creatures. Zichen noticed that some people groped the Pure Land's creatures after killing them. He didn't know what they were looking for. Since there are Pure Land's creatures here, there will naturally be the strongest one in the depths. Okon said in a deep voice while moving forward, "No wonder the Pure Land appeared on its own this time. It's led by the Pure Land's creatures." Zichen didn't understand. Okon explained, "The Pure Land's creatures are intelligent. Before the Pure Land appears, they are only a part of it. They will never be able to occupy the Pure Land, but once the Pure Land appears, they will have the opportunity to control the Pure Land just like us." Zichen's expression changed. "They can control the Pure Land too? This is not rare. Among the many Pure Lands, there are Pure Lands suitable for ancestor beasts to live in. Just like the Pure Lands function for humans, it is also a paradise for ancestor beasts." A roar came from the front, and a violent aura surged out. "It's a Dharma extermination level Pure Land creature," Okon exclaimed. "Kill it and get the Dharma crystal. It's not weaker than the ones I gave you." Zichen had already begun to refine the Dharma crystal that Okon gave him. It was still very useful for cultivation. His cultivation bottleneck showed signs of loosening. The two sped up. They went straight into the depths. There were much fewer people here. The weakest was at the 9th level of spirit technique. Among the many Pure Land creatures in front, there was one that was particularly huge. It was 10 feet tall, and a violent aura surged around it. At this moment, there was already a Dharma extermination charging towards it. Zichen looked around. Among the many people, he didn't see that middle-aged man. He came in earlier than Zichen, but he didn't appear. Could it be that he went deeper? At this moment, an angry roar came from the front. There was billowing demonic aura lingering, and the 10 feet tall Pure Land creature was sent flying. It was a hybrid demon. The two joined forces and sent the other party flying. Its strength is indeed tyrannical. When Okon saw this scene, his pupils couldn't help but shrink. Zichen's expression didn't change much, but he also deliberately avoided the direction where the hybrid demons were. At this moment, A 9th-level Pure Land creature charged towards Zichen. Zichen stretched out his hand and palm forward. Wang! A light seal suddenly appeared in his palm. The light seal suddenly enlarged in his palm, releasing a bright light. This is the seal of an array. When Ocon saw this, his expression changed, and there was a hint of shock in his eyes. Bam! The attack of the creature of the ninefold Pure Land instantly shattered the seal of the formation in front of him. The tyrannical power sent Zichen flying. This scene was coincidentally seen by the Dharma extermination hybrid demon in the distance. A hint of disdain flashed past the corner of his mouth, and he continued to fight with the Dharma extermination level Pure Land creature. With such strength, he still dared to provoke him. He was simply courting death. Zichen flipped over and got up, ignoring the 9th-level Pure Land creature in front of him. Instead, he looked at Ocon. "You said that this is the seal of an array?" Ocon nodded, extremely shocked. It is said that only Dharma extermination who has the core strength can condense the seal of an array. Zichen nodded slightly. No wonder when he used it previously, it felt extremely jerky, as if he was suppressed by some kind of power. It turned out that his realm was not enough. In that case, he would use his fist. The Pure Land creature charged towards Zichen again. This time, Zichen punched. It was just a punch. Boom! Like a thunder explosion, the 9th-level Pure Land creature was sent flying. When he landed on the ground, his body began to tremble. Zichen stepped forward and finished off the other party. He had obtained a beam of pure energy. Next, the two continued to go deeper, and during this period, they didn't continue to attack. Just as they reached the depths, there was an angry roar. "Everyone, get lost, this place is ours." It was the hybrid demons. They had arrived here in advance, wanting to monopolize this place. In front of them, there was a Pure Land creature the size of a small mountain. Dharma extermination 2nd level. It's the 2nd level of Dharma extermination. Chapter 52-29. Level 3 Pure Land was equivalent to Level 3 Destroyer. Once he obtained this Pure Land, he would be able to break through. To Ocon, this was a chance to reach the heavens in one step. That's right, going from Level 1 to Level 3 was like reaching the heavens in one step. Zichen asked doubtfully, "That creature seems to only have the power of a 2nd-level spirit spell. Why is this a 3rd-level Pure Land?" Ocon explained excitedly, "Because the Pure Land hasn't opened and they can't get the core opportunity. Now that it has opened, they have the possibility of controlling this place." Zichen nodded. Ocon had explained it to him before. But now, the hybrid demons had occupied the front and wanted to chase everyone away. They didn't have the advantage in numbers, but they were united. Scram! The Spell Destroyer Realm hybrid demon roared, "Those who attack will die." A tyrannical aura surged, suppressing everyone. "Who do you think you are to order us around?" Just at that moment, a voice rang out from the crowd, "Everyone, we are enemies with the hybrid demons. Along with the fact that we have the advantage in numbers, let's work together and kill them." "That's right, kill them." Someone immediately agreed. Following which, the crowd was furious. Their eyes were filled with killing intent as they stared coldly at the hybrid demons. The hybrid demons were laughing coldly. They weren't afraid at all, and there was even a hint of mockery at the corner of their mouths. That was because there were only people shouting but no one stood out. Zichen sensed that after someone shouted in anger, not only did he not go forward, he even retreated a few steps. He shook his head. How could he expect such people to work together to deal with the hybrid demons? He looked around but still didn't see that middle-aged man. Did he go around this place and sneak into the depths to find the greatest opportunity? After all, according to what Ocon said, the greatest opportunity here was the core of the Pure Land. Scram! A shout rang out and a terrifying aura surged in front of them. A hybrid demon's eyes flashed red as he forced out a Level 1 Destroyer Realm hybrid demon who was good at hiding. With that hybrid demon watching, it was extremely difficult to sneak in. Ocon was anxious but he didn't have a good idea. The spiritual spell side wasn't united. Everyone had their own thoughts and couldn't form an absolute force to suppress the hybrid demons. Zichen looked at the mantis demons and then looked into the depths. Naturally, He also wanted to obtain the opportunities there, because it was related to whether or not he could break through. In addition, if he had a pure land of his own, he would have a place to stay when the other beings from the myriad spirit realm came here. However, before that, he had to deal with the mantis demons and the creatures of the Pure Land. Go, Zichen said as he walked forward. The crowd was still clamoring, but no one stepped forward. Zichen was the first. Did you see that? A mere 9th-level spirit realm cultivator has such courage. If you don't follow now, aren't you afraid of being laughed at? Immediately, someone spoke up. Right, everyone hurry up. This is our opportunity, why should we give it to the mantis demons? Someone else spoke up. But still, no one stepped forward. The hybrid demons were strong and united. Under such a situation, whoever went up first would die first. Okon snorted coldly and followed. In fact, he was very nervous. Reckless dog. The hybrid demon who had a grudge with Zichen had a flash of killing intent in his eyes. 2 ants, I'll kill them alone. With that, he stomped on the ground. The earth shook and several cracks appeared on the ground. He used the force of the rebound to attack Zichen. The power of the hybrid demon surged over, bringing with it an oppressive aura. Zichen narrowed his eyes and released his aura. Although he was only at the 9th-level spirit realm, he wasn't weaker than a spell destroyer. The other party's aura was also instantly dissolved by Zichen. The two of them punched each other. Boom. The airwaves rolled out, forming a powerful shockwave. Okon, who was behind him, paused slightly as his robes fluttered under the airwaves. Zichen retreated 3 feet. The hybrid demon also retreated 3 feet. Both sides were evenly matched. Everyone else was shocked. The combat strength of the hybrid demons was strong to begin with and could suppress spiritual spells of the same level. Otherwise, Okon wouldn't have been injured by the other party. However, they didn't expect that such a powerful existence would be blocked by a 9th-level spirit realm cultivator. Both sides were evenly matched. Could it be that the hybrid demon held back? Everyone had the same thought in their hearts. The hybrid demon's face was gloomy as he snorted coldly. He charged forward again and punched a second time. I want you to die. The hybrid demon's body was strong to begin with, and this was something that spiritual spells couldn't compare to. Zichen's expression was indifferent as he raised his fist and infinite light bloomed. Boom. The second time they clashed, they were evenly matched again. This time, everyone was dumbfounded. It wasn't that the other party held back, but that this spiritual spell was strong to begin with. This was the first time they had seen something like this in their lives. Next, the two of them continued to collide like two machines, rumbling. Okon stood at the back and didn't attack immediately. He actually has such a physical body. The middle-aged man brought his attendant and walked in another direction. This wasn't the core. However, he was clear about what was happening in the core of the battlefield. Sir, what happened? The attendant tilted his head and asked curiously. That one called Zichen can go head-to-head with a level 1 Dharma destroyer mantis demon. The middle-aged man smiled. Even I have never seen such a physical body. The attendant was shocked. Even Sir can't compare to him. Back then, when I was in his realm, I couldn't compare to him. The middle-aged man said, as for now, he naturally can't compare to me. The attendant said, that's true, Sir's physical body is even stronger than the hybrid demons. The middle-aged man suddenly stopped and took out a jade plate. There was a light spinning rapidly on the jade plate. We're here. The middle-aged man had a smile on his face, a world within a world. After speaking, he released a powerful aura. In an instant, everyone in the Pure Land felt an inexplicable pressure. It was as if some kind of ferocious creature had awakened. Especially the Law Destroyers, their perception was even more sensitive. After sensing this aura, their faces changed drastically. There's actually such an expert here. Okon was also shocked. At this moment, Zichen suddenly exerted his strength. He stretched out his hand and pointed forward. Then, he slashed down. Heaven slashing technique. The light formed a saber arc and landed on the mantis demon's body with a terrifying will. Puff. In the next moment, the hybrid demon's body was split into 2. He was dead. Such an unforeseen event shocked everyone again. Their attention had been focused on that terrifying aura, and not on this place. They didn't expect Zi-Chen's sudden attack to be so terrifying. Go inside. Zi-Chen glanced at Ocon and then attacked the second hybrid demon. Without any extra moves, it was still the heaven slashing technique. This move could end the battle quickly. Puff. The second hybrid demon fell as well. Seeing this, Ocon's eyes flashed with joy. He quickly went around the battlefield and entered the depths. Chapter 52:30. In the battle between Zi-Chen and the mantis demons, both sides were evenly matched. Suddenly, he killed. This originated from that powerful aura. Originally, Zi-Chen was worried that the middle-aged man had already entered the depths. Among the people who came this time, Zi-Chen only felt a threat from him. But after that powerful aura erupted, he knew that the other party did not enter the depths. Then he had a chance. So he made a prompt decision and killed decisively. After that, he attracted many mantis demons with his own strength. Seeing this, the others immediately ran towards the depths. Such an opportunity was very rare. As for working together to deal with the mantis demons, it was obviously impossible. In the blink of an eye, Zi-Chen killed 2 mantis demons at the law extermination realm. Then, Zi-Chen's figure disappeared from the spot and went straight into the depths. Courting death. The mantis demon with red eyes wanted to stop Zi-Chen. He stood in front of Zi-Chen's path. Puff. A cold light flashed, and the other party's body was split into 2. The third mantis demon was killed. Zi-Chen appeared in front of the second-level law extermination realm creature of the Pure Land. The other party roared and slammed down with a claw. A terrifying aura came head-on. This was the first time Zi-Chen faced an existence of this level. He didn't dare to be careless. Swish. His figure flashed. When he dodged the other party's attack, Zi-Chen tapped his foot and soared into the air. In the next moment, his hands moved forward. Dazzling light filled his vision. Buzz. A pitch-black crack appeared in the sky. 2 heaven-severing techniques landed on the Pure Land creature's body one after another. Taking advantage of the existence of the infinite light, a cold light quickly pierced into the other party's head. It was the slaughter spirit. Puff. When the strong light dissipated, the huge body of the Pure Land creature fell backward. It crashed to the ground with a loud bang. Zi-Chen approached the other party and saw a shiny crystal. It was a higher quality law crystal. He put it away without hesitation. The others around were all shocked. They all seemed to be petrified and no longer moved forward. A Pure Land creature at the second level of the law extermination realm was already considered the strongest fighting force here. But who would have thought that in just one exchange, it would be killed by a 9th level spirit spell realm? If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. However, even though he had seen it with his own eyes, he still found it hard to believe. Zi-Chen didn't care so much. Taking advantage of the fact that the middle-aged man hadn't arrived, he still had a chance to obtain the greatest opportunity. The powerful aura that had appeared earlier disappeared in an instant. This gave people the illusion that it had never happened before. Since there were no other dangers, the group did not pay much attention to it. After they came back to their senses, they went straight into the depths. At this moment, the terrifying aura appeared again. It was the middle-aged man who walked out from the world within a world. His face was gloomy. Beside him, the attendant asked, "Sir, how is it?" The middle-aged man shook his head. With him as the center, the world began to crack like a broken mirror. "We can't protect this place anymore. Let's go." He walked towards the entrance. After releasing his powerful aura, there were only 2 choices left for this Pure Land. If it was the world within a world, its quality would be even higher. If it wasn't, then it would be destroyed. Now that it was discovered that it wasn't, the Pure Land was about to shatter. Ocon was the first to rush into the depths, and he was also the first to rush out. "Zi-Chen, run!" he shouted at Zi-Chen. Zi-Chen was stunned. He had obtained the opportunity so quickly. However, since he had obtained the opportunity, he had become the master of the Pure Land. Why should he run? This pure land is about to collapse. He shouted again. Zichen's face suddenly changed. Only then did he notice the abnormality around him. The space began to crack and would shatter at any time. Why is this happening? Zichen turned around and ran. He didn't dare to stay any longer. Behind him, the others also ran out, their faces full of horror. A powerful force that transcends the world has appeared here. That's why it's about to collapse. Zichen thought of the middle-aged man. The terrifying aura that the other party had released was obviously beyond the level of this world. However, why did he release his aura? Moreover, he didn't go into the depths but went somewhere else. Was he looking for something? He thought of what Wei Luo said back then. He was looking for another space. Did he not find it? Everyone was terrified. No one was looking for the opportunity anymore. Because when the ownerless pure land shattered, the power that erupted would be very terrifying. When the two were about to reach the exit, the world exploded. Boom. It was as if they were in the middle of a destructive storm. The tyrannical power raged as if it was about to tear their bodies apart. Zichen's face changed. For the first time, he felt the danger. A mournful scream rang out in the air. The pure land shattered. Zichen was thrown out. His body rolled on the ground. He suddenly coughed out a mouthful of blood. Zichen, are you okay? Okon's voice came from the side. He walked towards Zichen. Other than his pale face, there was nothing wrong with him. Zichen got up and looked at Okon with a surprised face. How did you dodge it? Okon said, the power of the Dharma Destruction Core can temporarily prevent the Pure Land from shattering. You don't have the Dharma Destruction Core now, so you were injured. Then, Okon said in a deep voice, we can't stay here for long. We have to leave quickly. Zichen nodded. Now that he was injured, it was more and more troublesome. And all of this was done by the middle-aged man. Zichen didn't understand. The other party was so powerful. Why didn't he go to the core area to get the Pure Land first and then go to other places to search? This way, the Pure Land wouldn't shatter. Are you trying to run? A cold voice sounded. Some hybrid demons came forward and surrounded the two. Okon turned his head and looked around. The other survivors were all standing in the distance. They were all spectators at the moment. They had no intention of going forward. Okon lowered his voice and said, what do we do now? Zichen narrowed his eyes. He only had one word, kill. His voice was cold and his face was cold. Okon glanced at Zichen again. From what he knew, Zichen was not a murderous person. Swoosh. Zichen put two fingers together and instantly slashed forward. Heaven's slashing technique. Only this move could kill the enemy quickly. Ha! The hybrid demon that was targeted by Zichen's attack shouted. A sharp blade appeared in his hand and blocked in front of him. Boom! A powerful force exploded, and the mantis demon at the first stage of the law destruction stage was sent flying. When the other mantis demons saw this, they immediately surrounded Zichen. They were good at close combat. Zichen was not to be outdone. After giving Okon a look, he fought with the others. There were more and more survivors around them. They were all watching, including some ancestor beasts. Sir, the servant also looked over. They can't live. The middle-aged man turned around and left. The hybrid demons can't live. The servant followed and asked. I don't know if the hybrid demons can live or not, but Zichen can't live. The middle-aged man said, even if he can kill all the hybrid demons, including the second stage Dharma Destroyer, the spectators will kill him. Chapter 52:31. The middle-aged man turned and left. The attendant followed behind him. He looked back and saw that Zichen was being surrounded by the hybrid demons. The others watched from afar and had no intention of interfering. Sir, where are we going next? The attendant asked. The news this time is wrong. I have to go back. The middle-aged man glanced at the attendant, and it's time to break through. The attendant nodded. He had been stuck at the 9th level of the spirit cultivation realm. It wasn't that he didn't have the resources to break through, but that the Lord needed this realm. Ocon faced a hybrid demon at the first level of the Law Annihilation realm, and the two of them fought. One hybrid demon was enough to deal with Ocon. Hence, the other hybrid demons charged towards Zichen. There were 6 of them. 5 of them were at the first level of the Law Annihilation realm, while the remaining one was at the second level. They appeared to be besieging him, and a terrifying pressure surged in all directions. Zichen's eyes were cold. Facing the attacks of these hybrid demons, he attacked with the heaven-severing technique. This was one of the most powerful attacks that Zichen could use at the moment. Bang! The weapon in the hybrid demon's hand was sent flying. Zichen's figure flashed and he quickly approached the other party and punched out. Boom! A powerful shockwave sent the other party flying. Wang! Then, the heaven-severing technique appeared again. That hybrid demon fell to the ground and died. His body immediately disintegrated and turned into white bones. And under the white bones, there was a crystal. It wasn't in the Pure Land, but it was outside. After killing one, Zichen quickly retreated with a bloody wound on his body. His face was a little pale. This was the first time he had such a huge consumption after coming to the immortal spell world. He didn't have time to pick up the crystal on the ground and fought with the other hybrid demons. The people watching from afar were shocked. Even someone of the same level might not have such combat strength. But now, the powerful hybrid demons were actually no match for a 9th-level spirit cultivation realm. The second hybrid demon was killed. Looking at the sparkling crystal, everyone's eyes flashed with greed. This thing was useful for law annihilators and was even more useful for spirit cultivation. It might even help them break through. This time, the destruction of the Pure Land had left many people empty-handed. Therefore, when they saw those crystals, they were moved. Right now, all they had to do was wait for both sides to be injured. Then, they would step forward and eliminate both sides in one fell swoop. Zichen, what should we do? Ocon had an anxious look on his face. He was already at a disadvantage, and when he looked at the surrounding people who were eyeing him covetously, he knew that he had no hope of survival, and his battle prowess was also affected. Kill. Zichen's words were still the same. His expression was cold and decisive. The third mantis demon fell. At this point, there were still 2 first-tier Dharma destroyers and 1 second-tier Dharma destroyer. Zichen wasn't having a good time either. There were several wounds on his body, 2 of which were so deep that his bones could be seen. This was all thanks to his powerful physical body. After all, he was the strongest person in the myriad spirit realm. He had almost no weaknesses and his body was comparable to the mantis demons. The eyes of the remaining 3 grew increasingly ferocious. Zichen took a deep breath, looked at the 3 people in front of him, and shouted, "Kill." He charged forward again. As the 3 met, the 4th mantis demon was killed. There was an extremely long wound on Zichen's abdomen. There are 2 more. He smiled coldly and put 2 fingers together on his right hand. In his left hand, he was holding a law spirit, which was rapidly absorbing power. "You're courting death." The last mantis demon at the first-tier Dharma destroyer charged at Zichen. Facing his attack, Zichen did not dodge at all. He took the attack head-on and then the sky-severing technique fell. His head was chopped off. At this point, the 5 first-tier Dharma destroyers were all dead. This kind of battle prowess was incomparably shocking. However, Zichen was obviously an arrow at the end of its flight. His body swayed and could fall at any time. Ao Kang's face was filled with worry. However, the current him was also powerless to protect himself. "It's your turn." Zichen looked at the second-tier Dharma destroyer. "I want you to die." The second-tier Dharma destroyer mantis demon roared angrily. His abdomen suddenly lit up. That was pure black light, like a black gem, releasing a terrifying aura. Ocon said that it was the core of power. As long as one reached the Dharma destroyer realm, one could condense this core power. At this moment, the second-tier Dharma destroyer realm aura completely erupted, forming a terrifying pressure that swept towards Zichen like a huge wave. Everyone in the distance held their breaths. One had to know that Zichen had the record of killing a second-tier Dharma destroyer realm. However, at that time, His battle prowess was at its peak. Right now, he was on the verge of exhaustion. Could he still win? The last collision happened. Swoosh. The law spirit in Zichen's hand completely dissipated. His left and right hands each displayed the sky-severing technique. Then, the two sides met. Infinite strong light shone, but Zichen's eyes were still cold. In that strong light, an imperceptible cold light appeared. Pu. It instantly pierced through the second-tier mantis demon's chest. The strong light flashed, and Zichen fell to the ground. Has the outcome been decided? Everyone's eyes lit up. The second-tier mantis demon stood there, motionless, and his expression was frozen. Then, his body fell down with a bang, and then turned into a skeleton. Such a scene shocked everyone. There were exclamations all around. He actually killed another second-tier Dharma Destroyer realm. In addition to being shocked, everyone also looked at Zichen. Was this a mutual destruction? Zichen's fallen body did not turn into a skeleton. Obviously, he was not dead. He moved, and then sat up with difficulty. There was an uproar all around. After seeing this scene, the mantis demon who was fighting with Ocon did not go forward to kill Zichen. Instead, he turned around and ran. Ocon ran to Zichen. Zichen, how are you? At this moment, blood was constantly flowing from the corner of Zichen's mouth, and the wounds on his body were also gushing out blood. His injuries were very serious. He held a crystal in each of his hands, absorbing the energy from it. Then he slowly shook his head, indicating that he would not die. Then, Zichen said, "That's right." What? Ocon did not hear clearly and leaned over. Zichen could only repeat it again. However, after hearing this, Ocon was completely stunned. Even now, you're still thinking about the crystals after the mantis demon's death. Ocon felt a little dazed. Wasn't the most important thing now to run away? We can't run away. Guard the spoils well. Zichen said weakly. The others had already come forward. The two of them had nowhere to run. Seeing this, Ocon could only go and pick up the spoils. One of the first-tier Dharma destroyers laughed. You guys really don't know what's good for you. You're already at this point. Instead of kneeling and begging for mercy, you guys are still so greedy. The others also roared with laughter. This is good too. Since you guys were greedy first, don't blame us for being rude. Everyone began to close in. Ocon returned to Zichen's side and looked at Zichen. To be honest, if he could run now, he would not mind running away himself. Unfortunately, the people around him obviously did not give him the chance. Then he could only stand on the same side as Zichen. At the same time, he could only pin his hopes on Zichen. Kid, don't blame us. If you want to blame someone, blame your greed. You took something that doesn't belong to you. A first-tier Dharma destroyer walked forward with a sinister smile. At this moment, Zichen was holding the crystal in both hands and had no time to attack. But this did not stop him from continuing to kill the enemy. Buzz.